So, ladies and gentlemen, there are some big news happening in the e-commerce world. If you don't know by now, TikTok is on the verge of potentially getting banned here. And TikTok this year has been one of the saving graces actually for a lot of e-commerce brands. It's taking the world by storm in a way that a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs did not foresee. And actually, in a way that a lot of e commerce entrepreneurs still don't even know about. That's how fast it's taken off. And I'm actually going to go to CaloData just to show you real quick before we dive into these news how big TikTok Shop has actually gotten this year. You can see, let me show you real quick if I make myself a little bit smaller. Shout out to CaloData, by the way. Love these guys. You can see there are brands that are literally reaching almost multiple 8 figures in sales in a single month. So this is the last 30 days. Tarte Cosmetics has done $16 million in sales on just TikTok Shop alone. That is ridiculous, right? A year ago, TikTok Shop was just getting started and brands had hardly done, even $1 million in a month. So we've seen a significant increase in the way that people are shopping through TikTok Shop. And this is literally exponential growth, right? Like this is not going to stop anytime soon unless this TikTok Shop ban actually goes through. So the TikTok policy team just filed for an emergency motion for injunction. That's what it's called. I actually looked this up. I'm no lawyer here, but I love learning new things. And an injunction is a court order requiring a person to do or cease doing a specific action. In this case, the action is banning TikTok Shop. So they're trying to get this court ban appealed as soon as possible. This would go into effect January 19th, 2025. And it would actually be pretty insane if this happens. To be honest with you, I've been really, really skeptical of this up until this point. But now that I'm seeing TikTok kind of really nervous about this, and of course now Donald Trump is in office, who is really, really trying to push U.S. For the U.S. to be, top dog in the world, and just in general, probably is thinking a lot about TikTok being a national security threat. Like now, I'm starting to see this could actually happen, right? Like this actually is more likely to happen than it was even a few months ago, which is, I don't rely on TikTok at all really for my business, but it is making me slightly nervous because they're just like TikTok is saying, it's absolutely true that a ton of Americans do rely on TikTok for income. A lot of businesses have been completely transformed because of TikTok Shop. So if this really does go through, it will have just crazy ripple effects in the e-commerce world. Now, let's read a little bit about this. But one thing I do want to say, and one thing I actually tweeted here, is that TikTok creators, this is in the end, right? Like, let's say this does go through. I tend to be a positive thinker. I like to, try to always move forward, right? And one of the things that I would advise everybody to do is to start just literally reposting all your TikTok content into an Instagram page or into a YouTube Shorts page or even a Facebook Reels page. Just utilize all the other short form platforms because ultimately there are brands like myself, right? Like we have a portfolio of companies that is crushing it. I just tweeted this yesterday and, the day before. We've been hitting 40K a day like clockwork on just one of our brands, and we have multiple, and we're only building more. So I'm always actually looking to recreate what TikTok has done for brands, but through Shopify. I think it's totally possible, and it's actually what we're doing. So for example, with me, if you're a TikTok Shop creator, you could hit me up and I would pay you a retainer and commissions to post content about my brands, but on Instagram instead of TikTok, right? You don't need 5,000 followers in order to do that. You just need to sign up to my store's affiliate link. Most stores have some sort of affiliate program integrated into them that you could join. Even probably some of the stores that you're already promoting on TikTok Shop. So that's what I would recommend is, obviously hit me up. I would love to hire you if you're an amazing creator, but also for other brands, right? And creators, this isn't the end of TikTok by any means. It may not get banned. It may all be fine. But it's not a bad idea to start de-risking and thinking about joining other platforms with that same style of content that you're making, because actually you could make even more money than on TikTok Shop. It may not make you more money than TikTok Shop, but I've seen people make 6 figures in commissions through Shopify affiliate programs, and I want that for you too. But long story short, let's see. Today, TikTok, it's December 9th, so this was yesterday actually. We filed an emergency motion for an injunction to stop the TikTok ban from taking effect on January 19th, 2025 until our appeal of the decision by the Court of Appeals for the DC Circuit is heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay, let's actually read the filing here. This is very, very interesting. Introduction. Petitioners move for temporary injunction pending Supreme Court review. Absent such relief, the act will take effect on January 19th. So if this doesn't go through, this is when it would go through, the actual ban. I will say, though, I don't really want to read this whole thing right now with you because it's probably pretty boring content. But one thing I will say is that if this does go into effect, it will still take a significant amount of time, like at the very least a year or two, in order to actually be fully banned, right? This isn't something that will just happen quickly, like, okay, January 19th goes through, boom, you can't access TikTok. That's not how it will go down. It will be a slow but painful ban for a lot of people, of course. So, let me see. I just want to see if we can find, let's just skip to the end. Maybe there's some sort of summary here. According to the provisions of the act comes into effect on January 19th to avoid interruptions of services for tens of millions of TikTok users, we would need a period of lead time to work closely with our service providers. Yeah, so that's basically what I was just saying. Ultimately, though, this is pretty crazy news to me. Just seeing TikTok kind of seemingly getting nervous about it makes me a little bit more nervous about it. Let's see. There's a quick video here that someone made. I just want to see if there's any more alpha here that we can uncover through it. So let's see.
Unprecedented ban. TikTok and its China-based owner ByteDance asked a U.S. appeals court Monday to temporarily block a law that would force a sale of the short video app in the U.S. by early next year or face an unprecedented ban. The companies filed an emergency motion with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, pending a review by the U.S. Supreme Court. Last week, a 3-judge panel of the appeals court upheld the law, jeopardizing the future of the app, which is used by 170 million Americans. Lawyers for the company said the prospect the Supreme Court will take the case and reverse is sufficiently high to warrant the temporary pause needed to create time for further deliberation. The U.S. Justice Department said the appeals court should quickly deny the request, and TikTok asked for a decision on the request by December 16th. The law to force a sale or ban TikTok was driven by widespread worries among U.S. lawmakers.
Okay, so by December 16th, we'll know whether or not this appeal gets approved. It sounds like the Justice Department is pushing for this to not get approved as much as possible. And if I had to guess, Trump's administration is probably just not trying to approve this either. So I'm sure there's like some deeper political, ties that are happening, conversations that are happening that we don't know about that are probably pushing for this to not go through. But obviously stay tuned to my channel here. I'm going to be trying to cover all this since I'm huge into e-commerce.
That China could access Americans' data or surveil them with the app. TikTok has denied it has or ever would share U.S. user data. Also, TikTok and ByteDance have called the law.
What do you guys think? Do you think they actually are sharing U.S. data with China? I mean, I think it's pretty likely, if I'm being honest, especially, I believe China is probably putting a lot of pressure on TikTok to do that.
Unconstitutional and a violation of Americans' free speech rights. Unless the Supreme Court reverses it, the decision to uphold the law puts TikTok's fate in the hands of President Joe Biden on whether to grant a 90-day extension of the January 19th deadline to force a sale. But it's not clear whether ByteDance could meet the heavy burden to show it had made significant progress toward a divestiture needed to trigger the extension. President-elect Donald Trump, who takes office on January 20th, one day after the deadline, unsuccessfully tried to ban TikTok during his first term in 2020. However, he said before the November presidential election that he would not allow the ban to go into effect.
Oh, okay. So, he's coming in one day after the ban would go into effect, and he's quoted as saying that he actually doesn't want to do that anymore. Interesting. I don't know how this is going to play out, but man, what crazy times we're living in. I feel like everything is just moving so fast, and I'm very excited to see what happens. And I actually do hope that it doesn't get banned. Personally, that's my stance. Some of you may not agree with it. Some of you think TikTok is the devil, and it very well may be. I definitely think there's a lot of. I understand the national security threats, and I also understand just how addictive TikTok is. I think there could be some room for coming towards an agreement, right? Towards the middle. Maybe it would be a good idea to limit how much TikTok usage you can have in a day. I mean, I know that definitely inflicts on some constitutional rights to do whatever you want, right? But like, I do think so many people are way too addicted to TikTok, and it's a problem. But in some ways, right, like the TikTok algorithm can show you things that are valuable, especially if you use it in the right way. You can kind of manufacture how you want to consume content through, engaging with the algorithm intentionally. But of course, most people are not going to do that, and that's where it can become a problem. So ultimately, we'll see what happens. I hope it doesn't get banned. I really don't want it to get banned. I think TikTok is a great platform. I think there's great, valuable stuff in there. Of course, there's a lot of trash in there too, but I think it's a great advertising platform. It's great for users. It's great for companies. And personally, I really do hope it doesn't get banned. Donald Trump going into office makes me believe that it may not get banned, now that I know that he actually doesn't want it to get banned anymore, even though he did say he wanted it to be banned at one point. But ultimately, we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. I'm curious for your stance, your opinion, even if you disagree with me. Obviously, let me know why. It'd be interesting to talk about it. But yeah, that's about it. Peace.